Hey, everybody. Sorry for the unexpected hiatus. I was out of commission due to some mental health issues for a little bit, but I am back and ready for action. As a PSA for anyone listening, if you are struggling with mental health issues, please ask for help. It is very difficult to ask for help coming from someone who had to, but you are strong for doing so. Just remember the crisis hotline number is 9888. So, like 911, but with eights. So remember that. But with that out of the way, it's your host, Brian, and I am ready for episode 5 of Shibuya, baby.
Hey everyone, it's Hannah, and I'm just thankful to be back on air with my two friends. Just really thankful that we're all here.
Same. I don't think I could say it any better.
Yeah. These two have been very critical for me during this time, and I couldn't imagine what it would have been like without them here, literally there for me as soon as I needed their support. So I can't ask for two better co-hosts. Truly. Love you both.
We love you.
All right. Well, now that we're all in our feels for the beginning of JJK5, here we go.
On that note, Gay, you're on my list.
Oh, God. All right. Well, this episode opens back up, right? We kind of flash back because Gojo was just getting sealed, and that news is coming to Itadori and Mei. Now, what do y'all think of this moment? Because Mekamaru literally just shows up in his ear. First off, if I had that come up to me, I'd be losing it. So how would y'all feel if that happened to you? Just like someone shows up right in your ear.
Honestly, I probably wouldn't be able to hear them the first time. What? That's my very real answer. My actual answer, though, I mean, I definitely think I would have, like, assuming I could hear it, freaked out more than Yuji did. And, like, Yuji was definitely, like, taken aback, but also Yuji is just, like, so chill. He's like, oh, it makes complete sense. Like, Mekamaru's here. So I think I probably would have panicked. I would have been like, the voices are loud today. Just kidding. But it's like, but I love Mekamaru as almost like Siri. Like, I think it's fun.
Turn like, right here. Straight ahead. Your destination is on the left. Gojo's box.
No. It's KFC.
Sorry. Too soon.
Oh, that was funny.
I'm sorry, Emily. Did you finish?
I think so. Now I'm just having intrusive thoughts, and I'm like Kentucky Fried curses. So we're good. Go ahead, Hannah.
Oh my gosh. So how would I have reacted if that popped up into my ear? Well, first of all, how I reacted watching it was, I was like, is Mekamaru alive? No. Sadly. No. I don't think the news got back to them that he had died prior to this, as far as I know, based off of what he had said. He was like, 10 days ago, Geto killed me or something like that. But anyway, I don't know. I think I would have reacted similarly to what Emily said. I would have been like, I probably would have felt it on my ear first though, because I'm like, it's not that I'm super aware of touch, but I do feel it that's usually the first sense that kicks in when something's happening is touch. Like if someone's near me, I notice because of their breath. So I think before he would have started speaking, I would have felt it on my ear and thrown it across the tunnel. Just been like, what the? Throw that, because what is that?
Honestly, every time I think of this moment, all I can think about is, hey, how you doing? Let me whisper in your ear.
Literally. Yuji's like, okay.
Oh, hey.
And I think we hear a little bit later, I think it's still in this episode, where Mekamaru's like, I planted these in significant spots. It might even be in this moment. Significant spots on purpose where they wouldn't be found. Or and there's a couple little spots, and I love that Yuji was one of the locations. Where they're
his ear. It's okay.
And I'm like, does that mean he doesn't use Q-tips?
How long was that on his ear then?
I don't know.
I'd have to go back and watch the episode before and be like, was that thing on his ear while he was fighting the freaking bug guy?
Yeah, they were on there. He said because they were all in places that were safe and that they were supposed to be places on people that weren't leaking information. I would say at least a month.
Number one on the list.
Oh, Yuji. All right. Well, nonetheless, we then cut over to Gojo, and it kind of steps back a little bit, and it's a couple moments before the prison realm closes on him. And of course, he is still being his arrogant self when he asks the body of Geto when he is going to stop letting this new sorcerer have his way with him. Were you all shocked at the following events and what it means for the person inside of Geto?
The way that Geto, like, his soul or whatever it is, I guess it's his body. His body is literally fighting back because he doesn't want Gojo to be sealed, even though Gojo literally killed him. And, like, they had a falling out. They had a breakup in front of the KFC. And they went their separate ways. I think this just shows how much love Geto truly had for Gojo, because I said soul, but it's literally his body, because his soul is no more. Like, he is dead. So it's like his body is it's written in his DNA to care about Gojo, I think is what I'm trying to say here. And I honestly teared up a little bit when I saw that. Like, it was really interesting to see after all this development that we got, after all this backstory that we got of the two of them, and we were all sobbing over the breakup in front of KFC, blah, 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 blah. Like, to see Geto, like, truly fight, I think this can mean bad things for whoever this is that's controlling his body. I think that Geto is proving that somehow he can still control a little bit of it. I don't know what that extent is. Obviously, I'm the one here who hasn't read the manga, and I'm still holding out strong. I don't know how much longer that's going to last, but I've been waiting for signs, and they haven't come yet. I did go to Barnes & Noble, and if they had the volume that picks up where it's left off, I would have gotten it, but they didn't. So, maybe I'm not supposed to. Anyway, I think it could be interesting to see if Geto continues to fight back. It could mean some interesting things for the person in charge, and could be their demise eventually, is what I could foresee.
This is Jujutsu Kaisen is not, but this is a love story between these two, and, like, call it whatever kind of love you want to. Like, there is, like, a very intense, like, attraction between these two spirits and these two souls, like, equal and opposite. But it was like, and especially after some of the heartbreaking stuff we just got in the last episode, the fact that, like, the muscle memory is so inherent in Geto's body that, like, Gojo, just the sound of Gojo's voice, like, calling out to him is enough for, like, the body to react, is so beautiful and so completely tragic. And I do think that it's probably going to eventually be the undoing of this sorcerer that we've seen. And I believe that the line is something to the effect of, like, this is the first time that this has happened. This guy's been around for a while. Whoever this is, this curse, this sorcerer, this evil entity that's present. So for, like, the connection between these two and the bond to be so strong that even after death, the body has a reaction is just incredible. And it's very, very good writing. Unfortunately. Thanks, TJ. No, we love them. We love them, but this is, like, I don't know if I was shocked, but I was devastated more than I was, like, knowing that it followed everything we saw last time.
Yeah, I think this, for me, was just really cool to see that there was some sort of will inside the body. I was reading the other day, and I was reading something about trauma and how the body remembers trauma just as well as your mind does. And I think that was, like, a trauma response a little bit from Geto's body. And I think this person inside of Geto even kind of talked about it with Mahito, that the theory about Mahito saying that the body comes before the soul, but, like, almost like Hannah was saying, that, like, the body and the soul are also somewhat integrated, right? Like, there is that, like, connection between the two. And I thought that was really cool, that, like, there was that, like, understanding of Geto's body of who was speaking to it. So I thought that was really cool. But as we go back, right, we cut from the opening to a small quarrel between Mekamaru's final piece, and the main thing that lets them know is, or he kind of communicates to them, is that there are 4 barriers over Shibuya at the moment. With how thorough that is, what does this tell us about any further encounters that are to come? And kind of what does that set the stage for, really, with how much preparing they've done?
That this fight is going to be a little bit worse than they originally were thinking it was going to be. I think that whoever is doing this clearly knows what they're doing and has been planning this for a while, and that bad things are going to happen.
Yeah, anyone who is like at all familiar with this anime knows that Shibuya is looked at as like World War Z by manga fans. And so like that kind of being a spoiler in and of itself, just being aware of the story at all, it's like it has very rightly earned its place in the Dark Trio, and we are beginning to see that here a lot. I do think that that's something that JJK does in a really interesting way that like no other show that I've seen has followed like a similar path. You know, one of the complaints about season 1 was like, oh, like we met a lot of people, we don't get a ton of time with any like single one of them, and yet they were briefly happy. And now it's like, but now development is going to have to come out of much darker settings from these characters that we were introduced to, and so the development is like just going to take a lot longer, and it's going to be a hard road for them. And we've seen a few barriers in season 1. We were introduced to like concepts. I think we got JJK 101, so we know like one barrier, like one situation required Gojo going pretty hard in season 1. There's 4 here. Now we also have, you know, the background of the hidden inventory arc and JJK 0 that have come out in the interim, so we understand like that Geto alone was dangerous, and now we don't know that much about this sorcerer that's taken over, but we know that that's the ringleader of like this whole master plan, and that everybody that's on their team is also incredibly dangerous, and they're all partnered together. We know that Gojo is not faring the best in this particular fight, so I don't know. We know it's not going to be good. It's going to be at least 4 times as bad. Based on the barriers alone. So
as we cut back to Geto and Gojo finally being locked into the prison realm, we see something strange about it. It's gone from that like brownish, Krabby Patty color to a gray with blue eyes. Tell me what this kind of means, and what does this kind of like say about Gojo again? And like I feel like it comes back around to a couple concepts for Gojo.
So I have a few theories about this. I don't know that any of them go together or that they're correct necessarily, but I really liked how this was animated. I thought it was really cool. The first popular theory that I've seen is that, so we also see that the eyes are like tearing, right? We see them like crying, and some people have theorized that that's because of how hard Gojo's fighting back, that like the box in the prison realm itself is crying because he's so strong that it's like, oh my god, I can't, like, how do I even, like, it can't process him. And they even say like, this is gonna take a while. We got to download this. Lots of gigabytes. But so that's one theory. It's a good one. I personally like better that, you know, we have the concept of Gojo's characterization, and like his main scale is that he's like the 6 eyes, right? So we've already got like all these eyes all over that to me resemble Gojo a bit, and I like the idea that like that it's like Gojo crying, that it's like Gojo's reaction to not only like having the hope dashed away from him that he had very, very briefly seeing Geto again, but also now this kind, like, even though it's not Geto, like this feeling of betrayal again, like a renewed, reopened wound. That's what it makes me think of. So
yeah, that was my theory too. I said that so nonchalantly, like, yeah, Gojo's crying. It's fine. Yeah, I just thought as it was Gojo's eyes, essentially, and that he was feeling so much emotion in this moment that was causing those emotions to outwardly appear on the box. Because what he just went through in those past, what was it, like 60 seconds, essentially, whatever. It's why he's been locked up, is because it made him freeze. Gojo, who's always so nonchalant, so chill, he knows he's the strongest. He is confident in his ability of being the strongest. He was confident heading into this. You bring the man that he loved into the picture that he's already lost multiple times. You know, there was the breakup, and then he had to kill him himself in JJK 0. So he had that hope for a brief moment, but he knows it's not him, but it still feels like betrayal because the last thing, and this is what got me when I watched this episode, they made it very obvious that the very last thing that Gojo sees before he's completely encased in this box was Geto's body, essentially. And that wrecked me, man. Like, because he saw him and like that's the last thing that he sees before he gets sealed. I think that's what caused his emotions to overflow to the point of the box crying. I like the theory that it was crying because he was too powerful.
I do think that that's kind of funny, but may I also point out, I had to double check because it's been a very long time since I took a geometry class, and apparently I can't count based on an image in my imagination. However, a cube has 6 sides. 6 eyes, 6 sides.
That's what I was thinking, because I was thinking about, because I saw it and I was like, that looks like a D6, like a 6-sided die, and I was like, is that meaningful of something? I definitely didn't think of either of those things that you guys are talking about. I was just like, oh yeah, Gojo is pretty big. It's just gotta like process Gojo. Makes sense. But that's a
what
really
it was.
I mean, I
It
like
probably
those
is
theories
what it
way
was.
better. Let's be real. But yeah, I think realistically, this entire kind of theme of Gojo being like the strongest comes back around, which is really cool. And I think it kind of like talks about like, I guess, the loss that the Jujutsu sorcerers now have faced, even still while he's like trying to be imprisoned. It's still such a hard process. Now I want to kind of switch over to a question about the OST here. So Mekamaru's been able to relay everything that we just kind of talked about with Gojo, and he tells Yuji about that. But as he's talking to Yuji, all of a sudden the OST gets really upbeat, almost like inspiring, hopeful. How is that contrasting the events that have happened so far and the notions we've gotten from this arc?
Anime does this a lot. Where we're in a pretty low spot. Gojo's been sealed. Things are feel very hopeless. The OST starting to sound hopeful is literally there. Like the reason that that movies and TV shows have OST is to literally help you understand the emotions that you're supposed to feel in that moment. Like there is a point to an OST, and it's to kind of guide you through how you're supposed to feel about certain situations within the story. So when the OST starts to feel hopeful, you start to feel hopeful. You start to think that things are, kind of swinging to the better side, and that's what Mekamaru is saying. Like he's giving Yuji some hope because the box has been like completely thrown into the ground by Gojo's strength, and Mekamaru's like, man, if we attack them now, like we can probably get Gojo out of here because they can't do anything about the box right now. Gojo's literally too powerful. So yeah, we're feeling hope, and the OST is just leading us to that moment. Is it going to stay hopeful? This is what I say anime always does. 99.9% of the time, it's not going to get hopeful. Demon Slayer does it. Attack on Titan does it. Hunter x Hunter freaking did it. Like all these shows where it's like you think the character's like, oh, we got a second win, we're going to do better, the OST's getting better, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh, he's dead.
You fool. You thought.
You fool.
There is definitely like some hope that because we've set up this character that's like literally larger than life. Like Gojo literally has canonically disrupted the balance of this world, and they've stated that multiple times. So obviously him getting sealed is not ideal for the human side of the battle. But yeah, they don't even let it skip a beat.
I'm sorry, can we put that on a t-shirt? Gojo getting the seal. It's not ideal.
I'm a poet and I don't know it. What can I say?
I've been interrupting you a lot. I apologize.
Also, I like to think maybe there's something fun about, like, we have Mei who's like kind of weird. I don't like her and her brother. I don't like them. But I do really like Yuji a lot. And I like this notion that like he's ready to step up and help his sensei. We come back to that idea that was in Hidden Inventory too, of like, you've got it from here. This is like the next gen. Hopefully we can go get Gojo out the easy way. But Yuji's not gonna Not gonna give up either way. So I think that it's tied a little bit to him and like his general persona, because let us not forget that he is the main character. Doesn't seem that way lately, but Yuji is our main character, and we're gonna hopefully get to see him in action.
Yeah, I think that's kind of the interesting thing is like with anime, sometimes you forget, or like with animes with larger casts, it can be really difficult to discern like are they no longer the main character? Were they the main character for that season? What's going on? But I do love that for us. Now, with that being said, after Mekamaru kind of gives him the information, Yuji gets to the top of the building at Shibuya, and he's just so fucking stupid. He's classic. Like, I think this is the only way Yuji would have called out for Nanami. But he's screaming, nah, me. It's fucking great. And as he's doing that, we cut back to the cursed spirits and Geto debating on what comes next for their plot. What do you guys think of some of the mentions at what's going on and what they're supposing they should do next?
Well, first of all, I would be screaming for Nanami like that too. Let me just put that out there. However, also just a quick shout out to like Megami's reaction to all that too. I thought that was so funny, giving Yuji like the karate chop on the head. It's like, shut up, you idiot. Like literally everybody in the whole city can hear you. Like, I love them. Besto friendos, even though Megami will not admit it. Now, as far as the curses, I do think this is interesting because we get to see Choso and Jogo again here. And Mahito, and they're all talking about our main character Yuji, and they're all like, "Wait, you know Yuji?" And they're like, "When I get my hands on that guy, of course." But they're like, "We really can't kill him though, because he is like presently the vessel for Sukuna, which is important to a bunch of curses that ideally they have Sukuna on their side as well." But Choso's like, "Nah, like." This guy killed my brothers. I don't even care about Nobara. Like, it's on site. It's on site for Choso the way that it is for me when I see Gege. But it's fun that they're talking about like such murderous intent, and yet we're back to like this childlike state. We saw them on like the park swings and like the playground or whatever a couple episodes ago, and now they're like, "Oh, it's a game. Like, I'm gonna find him first." And they're like just so goofy and childish, and that's contrasted actually by, we quickly see here like the two girls that Geto had kind of taken under his wing as a human, who like are actually children or young, not acting like young children at all. I think that there's something like very sobering about that. Yeah, if it's all a game, it's probably not necessarily in Yuji's favor at this moment.
Well, I mean, we're having a whole conversation between 4 villains about what to do with him when they catch him. No, I'm gonna kill him. No, I'm gonna kill him. If I get him first, I'm gonna kill him. No, if I get to him first, I'm going to kidnap him. So because we want Sukuna, like, there's a lot going on with there. It's kind of a nice little reminder that Yuji is the main character, because main characters, let's be real, they always have targets on their backs from the main villains. Like, that's literally how you know. Like, obviously Gojo is in the same situation too. Like, he was kind of the first part of their plan was like, okay, get Gojo sealed. But I feel like that was more of a like, get him sealed because he's the strongest and we don't have a chance unless we seal him. And now that they have sealed him, you can tell like they're all way more confident. Mahito is that very playful style of just like, this is a game, let's have fun. And everyone else is like, I'm going to avenge my brothers, like Choso said. So it's a nice little reminder that he is our main character. That's how you pick them out. Target on back, main character. But I think that it means some interesting things to come for Yuji. I can't really speak on it because I don't know what is to come, but I'm foreseeing some pretty intense battles. I know just enough spoilers to know that some stuff is going to go down, so I'm just interested in see how it goes down and what happens. And of course, when we're recording this, I believe we're all the way to episode 7 airing, so I'm also thinking about how that episode ended, which I won't really touch on here, but I know that something big is going to happen with Yuji in the next episode, which I'm really looking forward to, because at the end of the day, I don't love it when like you forget that someone's the main character. I think you take a story like Demon Slayer and it's like, oh yeah, Tanjiro is the main character because we literally are always reading his thoughts. Like literally that boy is giving us a monologue inside his brain at every second of every day. He's always targeted, blah, 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 and it's always from his perspective. But like we haven't seen him for years, essentially, until the end of the Hidden Inventory arc. So I'm really happy to kind of see the story maybe turn back to him. Give him a chance to go for it. And one side note, when Megumi like kind of karate chopped him, that was such like Zenitsu and Tanjiro vibes. It was funny.
Just a quick thought on like the conversation between all four of them. I couldn't stop thinking about Jigsaw and let's play a game. Like literally that's what I took that as. Like they're all just trying to fuck around and find out with Yuji and like see what happens. It's literally too funny. It's
because they've gained this confidence now that they've sealed Gojo. Like they're like, yeah, we can just play around, see what happens.
Well, and they're still standing. I think maybe the person that's probably not the person, the curse that's like the most sobered by this is probably Chogo, because he just like watched Hanami get like wrecked. Yeah, wrecked is like an understatement. Hanami got like brutalized without a fight back.
Yeah.
That's rough, buddy.
Yuji's doing some yelling, dear God. Ino, Megumi, and Nanami finally group up with Yuji, and they're on a new mission to take down one of the curtains. But I would like to take a moment to reflect on what Ino was saying about the effects of the current situation with Gojo being sealed. How do you think he's living up to his reputation as their upperclassman and the precedent he is setting for them on how important their mission currently is?
I think he's doing a good job. I think they very much... I'm trying to remember the scene because I'll be real, it's been a little while and all the 3 episodes that have passed by are meshing together. As far as I can remember, Ino is a little bit of a goofball, but he's clearly taking this very seriously, and I think that Megumi and Yuji, as Nanami kind of puts Ino in charge of the 3 of them, they trust him fully. They trust his decisions. They follow him because not only do they trust him, but they also trust Nanami. And they trust that Nanami just made the best decision for all of them. And if that means that they follow Ino and Nanami goes and does his own thing, then that means that's what they do. Because at the end of the day, Yuji and Megumi are very powerful in their own right, but they have a lot to learn. And I think they're mature enough to understand that they need to trust their leaders at this point. I think they've been, especially Yuji's, like been wild in season 1, kind of like learning about this whole world and everything. But I think he's sobered up. He experienced some pretty traumatizing things in season 1. So I think that Ino is doing a really good job. I think that they trust him, and he is earning that trust by the way that he's leading them. If, again, I think I'm remembering the scene correctly. I think there was a little bit of joking happening, but, at the end of the day, like, they trust him, and he's calling some good shots here, too.
Yeah, I like Ino. He's a little bit new to us, but Nanami trusts him, so I trust him. and the boys do too. And like he is the upperclassman, so he, even though he's like not quite on obviously like Nanami's level or like any of the teachers, like Nanami's putting his trust in him. So I think that he's feeling like pretty good, like he's pretty honored, and he also gets like a minute to maybe show off here a little bit for like his underclassmen that are looking up to him to see like, oh, like what is somebody who's at this level supposed to be able to do compared to like where I'm at, and like what can I learn from my senpai. So I actually think this is kind of an endearing moment. We've got more to talk about in the coming episodes, but it's really important that they all listen and they all do like the best that they are supposed to do, because Ino explains that like, so like the Gojo clan is Gojo. It's one person, and if Gojo like somehow does not make it out of this, the Gojo clan is done. Like there's no more procreating, there's no, there's no 6 eyes, at least for the time being. And that means that a lot of different sorcerers and curses are going to come out of the woodworks, because just him existing has kept most of them at bay this entire time. Or like his predecessors. Not good. I think they straight up say like this would be the end of humanity if we can't get this reined in really, really quickly. So they know that, like, yes, there's like a little bit of lightheartedness still, but like they've got a very serious job to do, and they're all about it. I'll jump right in.
This is really cool, and I think Emily, correct me if I'm wrong, but I feel like from the manga they made Megami a little bit like snippier during these moments, and he was more so like, we get it and stuff like that. So I don't know if that was like different from the way they put it in the anime. I'll have to look back on it, but I did think that this was really cool, the way he's trying to like remind them of like, yes, we're in a very dire situation, and that's like fine and dandy because like that's our job, but also like you need to understand like how dire of a situation we're actually in right now, which I think was really good to see, because I think when we see some of these like teaching characters, sometimes they can be a little bit rough. Like when we first met Tengen as like a character to like aspire to be, he was kind of a dick, let's be real. But now he's like, we all definitely have a lighter spot in our hearts for him. So I definitely think that he is really cool for starting off on a good foot. But yeah, that's kind of all we got, and we do kind of close out the episode there. Cool. Well, I'll start. I did actually like, I don't even know if this is like a favorite moment or just like a favorite shot on screen, but they reference back to be Gojo when he said, "I alone am the strongest among heaven and earth." And I just thought that that was very ironic for the way that this episode played out, when he like fully got sealed in this episode, and then he forced the like prison realm to buffer.
The right answer is probably like everything that we talked about with Gojo's box and like the final sealing and like all the emotion, or like whatever interpretation. I think it's cool that there are so many interpretations that can be pulled from that. So that's probably, to me, the objectively correct answer. My actual answer is I love Yuji screaming Nanami's name on the top of the roof, and I love everything that has come out of that. I knew the minute I heard it, I was like, that's gonna be a meme. It's gonna be a meme, and I was right, and I'm so glad I was right. He's me for real.
The way that this past weekend I did a little photo shoot with my friends in JJK cosplays, and the whole night we just constantly were like, nah, me.
Nah, me. Nah, me.
Well, I was going to say that was my favorite moment too, because I love Yuji, little sunshine boy. So I'm just going to say the slightly different moment when Megami karate chops him. I find those moments so funny between friends. Like, you guys know, I think I listed as my favorite moment from the episode of Demon Slayer when Tanjiro does it to Zenitsu, because I just think it's so funny when these characters are being super loud and their like counterpart friend, who's usually like super cool and calm, is just like that is peak comedy to me, because they are trained and they know like how to knock someone out. Like, it is on purpose. Love it. I think it's the most funny thing. So I'll say that.
Just the dynamic of like the literal black cat embodiment boy and like the golden retriever character. Like, I love that dynamic. The pink and the black every single time.
Yep.
Every time.
I think that's the funny part, is that I have a backpack, or I bought Johnny a backpack, and it is a JJK backpack, and it's the one panel where Yuji's wearing the Rook sunglasses, the really big sunglasses, has the popcorn and like the ice cream in his hand, and then there's Megami just like, I'm like, I'm Yuji, you're Megami. It's nice because, as Hannah always kind of talks about, that like we all kind of know with where Demon Slayer is heading, there probably aren't going to be too many more happy moments knowing that Nezuko's conquered the sun, and now this is us. That's it for JJK. This is where it's at. So we are in a similar parallel. But with that being said, that's all we have for today. So I really hope you enjoyed our first episode back. Don't forget to follow us on TikTok and our socials. And as always, umai.
We can say it.
Yoaimo.
Umai and Ioimo.
Umai wo.
You probably just cursed in Japanese, Emily.
I'm deeply sorry. Probably
Say,
did.
Gomen nasai.
Gomen nasai.
Gohan to ocha kudasai.
Sugoi. All right. Well, on that note,
Goodbye.
bye.